In 2014, a seemingly innocent children's legend, a character born from an internet forum, somehow translated into a real-world horror. Two 12-year-old girls, driven by a belief in this fictional entity, lured their friend into a forest and stabbed her 19 times. How does a made-up monster, a creepypasta, move from the digital shadows of the internet into such a brutal, tangible act of violence? To understand this horrific event, we have to journey back to its unlikely birth. The year was 2009. The place? A forum on Something Awful, a satirical comedy website. The topic? A Photoshop contest, tasking users with creating paranormal images that would fool readers. Eric Knudsen, under the pseudonym Victor Surge, submitted two black and white photographs depicting groups of children, with a tall, faceless, unnaturally thin figure superimposed into the background. He added cryptic captions about the figure, claiming it abducted children. This was the genesis of the Slender Man. Initially, Slender Man was just a few images, a brief legend. But the internet, ever hungry for new myths, quickly latched on. Other users began creating their own stories, fan art, and even sightings. The lore expanded. Slender Man was a malevolent, supernatural entity, often depicted as a tall, thin man in a black suit with a blank face, sometimes with tentacles protruding from his back. He was said to stalk, abduct, or traumatize people, especially children. He could teleport, appear in photographs, and induce slender sickness, paranoia, nosebleeds, and vivid nightmares. This open-source nature, where anyone could contribute to his mythology, allowed his legend to grow organically, morphing and sharpening with each new edition. Websites like Creepypasta Wiki, devoted entirely to user-generated horror stories, became the perfect incubator. Slender Man wasn't just a story, he was a phenomenon, infiltrating online forums, YouTube videos, and even video games like Slender: The Eight Pages. He was a ghost in the machine, everywhere and nowhere, a whisper amplified into a roar. But things took a truly dark turn years later. On May 31st, 2014, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, something profoundly disturbing happened. Peyton Leutner, a 12-year-old girl, was lured into a wooded park by her two best friends, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire. It was the day after a sleepover, a seemingly ordinary morning. But Geyser and Wire had a plan, meticulously crafted and chilling in its execution. They had been researching Slender Man for months. They believed he was real. They believed he lived in a mansion in a nearby national forest. And they believed, with a fervent, terrifying conviction, that to become his proxies, his servants, they had to commit a sacrifice. They told Peyton they were playing hide and seek. Deep in the woods, Geyser pulled out a kitchen knife and stabbed Peyton 19 times. Wire urged her on. The wounds were severe, targeting vital organs, narrowly missing major arteries. They left Peyton for dead, instructing her to lie still so she wouldn't lose energy, believing she would somehow find her way to Slender Man's mansion. Miraculously, Peyton, despite her horrific injuries, crawled out of the woods, found a road, and was discovered by a cyclist who called for help. Her survival was nothing short of a miracle. What they discovered next changed everything. When police apprehended Geyser and Wire hours later, their confessions were almost surreal. They spoke calmly, matter-of-factly about Slender Man. They detailed their fears that he would harm their families if they didn't obey him. They believed they had to kill Peyton to prove their loyalty, to become worthy of living in his mansion. This wasn't a game to them. It was their reality. The ensuing trials captured national attention, sparking debates about mental health, internet influence, and the culpability of children. Both girls were eventually found not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. Geyser, diagnosed with early-onset schizophrenia, was committed to a mental institution. Wire was also committed but later granted release under strict conditions, having expressed remorse and having matured considerably during her time in institutional care. To this day, the Slender Man stabbing remains a chilling testament to the power of belief, especially in the fertile, often unregulated landscape of the internet. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. How do we distinguish between fiction and reality, especially when that line becomes blurred for vulnerable minds? What is our responsibility when the stories we create, even for entertainment, take on a life of their own? The Slender Man case isn't just about a fictional monster. It's about the very real and sometimes tragic consequences when that fiction bleeds into our world. If you want more mysteries like this, the next video explores the strange case of